Welcome to episode 52 from the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. Theo, how you doing?
Not bad, thanks. Like I just mentioned, just had the faintest second line on my lateral flow test, so I'm not sure if that means I'm positive, negative, to be determined, whatever it is. But I feel fine.
TBC.
TVC exactly. But I feel fine. Chelsea into the next round of the FA Cup. Wasn't pretty, but we'll touch upon that now. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Tired. I've realised I'm no longer 21. I can't sort of do all-nighters or get up early in the morning and then try and sort of do things. So today's been a bit of a slug, to be fair. But no, apart from that, doing all right, doing good. Like you said, we may as well get straight into it now. Plymouth Argyle 2-1. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you thought about the game, pre and post.
Going into the game, all you have to do is listen to episode 51. We were optimistic. I think you said 3-0. I said 4-0. You looked at that lineup; it was very, very strong. Probably our strongest 11 that we could have fielded without Silva, Pulisic. I mean Mendy, but Kepa's been fantastic. So I don't really see that as a reason why we should not be scoring more than 3 or 4. Positives from the game, we were the better side. Negatives, and there were many, 41 shots, I think. Only a handful of those on target, which were not clinical enough, sloppy. We needed a penalty save and extra time to actually win the game, which is worrying against the League One side. And then I think what worries me even more is that we've got Al Hilal on Wednesday, who, let's face it, are a much better team probably than Plymouth Argyle. But no, it wasn't. I think fair play to Plymouth. They took their set pieces quite well. I think that's the only way they were going to score against us, and they scored early on, and that kind of gave us a bit of a wake up call. Kovacic hitting the bar twice, Hudson-Odoi hitting the crossbar, I think, from a header. But it's just not really. I mean, I could talk about Lukaku again, how he just looks quite sloppy, lethargic. We are okay. So yeah, let me talk about that now. There were moments. I mean, in that first half, I had the sun in my eyes, so I can really see the game properly, probably for the best. But I was looking at Lukaku occasionally. He just, I know that sometimes we should be creating the service for him, but as a world-class number 9, you should be creating that service for yourself. From time to time. And that means making that run, fighting for the ball, getting in the right position. And he wasn't doing that. He was just standing there, looking at the linesman, making sure he was onside. And that's about it, That was about it. And again, it's quite worrying that our 2 goals came from our 2 fullbacks. And I think now that Azpilicueta has scored, every single one of our defenders has got a goal this season. Probably more, some of them have more goals than some of our strikers or wingers, which worries me even more. But no, like I said, positive, we're into the 5th round of the FA Cup. Negatives, not our strikers and attacking players aren't consistent enough, and we're not being clinical enough.
No, I have to agree. I thought it was a game. Obviously, you go into it, like I said. I think I said 3-0, maybe 4. Can't remember. I think I said 3. Going into that game, you expect the team, especially the team we put out. I mean, that you look at that squad that we've put out. Kovacic, Jorginho, Mason Mount, Hakim Ziyech, Christensen, Rudiger, Azpilicueta. These are all first team starters for Chelsea. They're all the names that you expect to see against Man City, Liverpool, whoever. But against Plymouth, you just think, okay, strong team. We should do better. I knew that wasn't going to be the case during the warm up because I could, from where I was sitting, they were doing the shooting drills in front of me, and this is the first time I think I've ever really watched Lukaku in warm-up and properly during the game. And on TV, sometimes when you're watching games, it almost feels like a player's running really slow or they're got lead in there. In real life, Lukaku actually runs like he's in slow motion. Like I've never seen someone run and take like 4 or 5 steps before they kick the ball in the warm-up. It's just, there's so much that was wrong during that warm-up. And Hudson-Odoi as well, there's a few others that were just sort of not really do much in the warm-up, but during the game, credit to Plymouth. Let's get that out of the way because I thought they played really well. I think the goalkeeper Cooper, I can't remember his name. Cooper. I said Kepa was man of the match, but let's be real, it was Cooper. Michael Cooper was the man of the match for me because he not only did he pull off some brilliant saves, he was just arguably one of the best
Yeah.
players on the pitch for me. So I think we've got to give Plymouth their credit. The goal, the free kick, Ziyech, I don't think it was a free kick. I think it was a soft free kick to give away. But nonetheless, we've got to pinpoint him again. Lukaku can't defend, can't score, can't defend. It's simple stuff. It's simple things that you've got to do as a professional footballer. The ball comes in, you've just got to get your head on it and clear it. Get it out for a corner anywhere, just somewhere. Just don't jump and do nothing.
Yeah, he's like 1 meter 90. I don't know how his exact height, but he's not even winning any headers, which is I don't know. But yeah, the Plymouth keeper was quality. That save from Mason Mount was the best of the bunch for me. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, that probably I had the sun in my eyes. I hardly could see anything in that first half, so I don't know if it was a game for them. But no, it's just worrying that we needed 41 shots, and from those 41 shots, we only had 2 goals. I mean, no matter how good their keeper was that day, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. And then that 11 we played, it's probably not going to be that much different to the 11 we played in the League Cup final on the 27th against Liverpool. You maybe expect a Silva to come in, but other than that, it's not going to be that much different. And like you just said about Lukaku, he can't score, he can't defend. You're picking your team based on merit, I want to say. And if you're picking it on merit, why is he anywhere near that first 11? Player Kai Havertz, or even a Timo Werner, who was poor when he came on, but the fans seem to like him. He actually wants to prove the fans, he wants to score, he wants to, make these runs. He actually looks like he's got energy when he comes on. But I don't know if Tuchel sees something in Lukaku in training that, or maybe he wants to really get the best out of him. 97 million. He wants to prove to the board that we paid 97 million for this guy. He needs to be playing. But sometimes you might need to bench him to make him realize he is replaceable. He is the drop ball. So I'm kind of in favour now for just giving him a 1 or 2 game break, letting a Havertz or a Werner play, even a Loftus-Cheek when he's back from his injury in a higher position, and see where he goes from there.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't want to see him in the cup final. I don't want to see him anywhere near the team. I've backed him. You've heard me on here before. I've backed him, and on Twitter, I've backed him and said, give him time. He's part of the team. We've got to back him. But after Saturday, I mean, there's just nothing that I think he had one out of those 41 shots. He had 1 on target and 1 off target out of 41. He's the number 9. He's the vocal person, the one person that should be getting at least 3 or 4 shots on target in a game, and he can't get any. It's to the point now where I think we've got to seriously think about not playing him. We won the Champions League without him. What does he bring to the team? What is his role in the team? Because he's not a number 9 by the looks of it. Is it the Premier League? Well, it can't be, because we play in Plymouth, and you expect him to score.
Yeah.
Is it the climate that he's in? No, because he's played in Italy. It's the same climate. Is it the city? No, it can't be, because he's played in the country before. What is it? There's no other. There's nothing we can say about Lukaku, and it's frustrating, because I don't think Tuchel's even got I think this is more above Tuchel's head. I think we've paid 97 million. We've got to play him. I think that's what it comes down to. I think the same with Shevchenko. Shevchenko wasn't the best striker for Chelsea, but we played him because he was Abramovich's sort of signing, so to speak. This seems like a club signing. Maybe Tuchel did want Haaland after all. We never got him. And we ended up with Lukaku, who didn't want to come to the club. We didn't want him. Inter needed to sell him. It's just a bad signing. It's an awful signing. Yeah. Thumbs up, pointing to the feet. That's all I see from him for 90 minutes. So he frustrates me. He made me think all the way back to Liverpool about what he actually did in that game. How was he effective? And he wasn't. He didn't do anything. So I've done with him now. I think even if he was to score 20 goals for the rest of the season, I'd still want him gone at the end of the season.
It's slightly different, because he's only been 6 months, maybe 6-7 months. I do want to give him a bit more time, but it's just his body language that's poor. It's
that's the telling thing, though. The body language. Torres was good, but he still went out there and put a shift in.
Exactly. And also you mentioned, is it the league? Is it the climate? Is it the system? Is it the city, the country? If you're world class, you adapt. And he supposedly is world class. You pay 100 million for a player. You that price tag means you're world class, but something's not right. And to make things worse, you've got Abraham and Giroud, who are 2 number 9s last season, who are performing so well out in Serie A in Italy. It's frustrating. It just seems to be like a curse with us, and we can never find our luck when it comes to number 9s and strikers and spending the big money on them. But it's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about some positives, because you mentioned the goals. Obviously, Cesar Azpilicueta's goal, which I missed because I was eating a pie and a pint at half time. But I did hear the roar. I was watching on the big screen. But yeah, brilliant goal. Zola-esque. It was Zola, wasn't it, really, in some ways, because he was... You could sense there was a goal coming, and I think that goal, you know, just before half time kind of made things a bit more better, not just for the fans, but maybe for the team. You know, shouldn't be coming from our defenders, but what a goal. And Alonso as well, you know, perfectly could take, you know, well taken goal. But do you think Thomas Tuchel not being at that game potentially maybe had an impact on the way that we played?
Not really. You'd think it's Plymouth. You could have your assistant coach, your youth team coach on the sideline, and you should be still winning with the squad we fielded. I'm sure Thomas Tuchel was still very vocal, whether it was on Zoom, FaceTime, or whatever. So he managed to get his tactics across. Maybe actually having him on the touchline and instructing players to get into position, maybe that would have influenced the game slightly. But Tuchel or not, we should have done much better than a 2-1 win, needing extra time and a penalty save.
Yeah, and what a save it was. We were mentioning the penalty save. I think, obviously, we'll get on to Edouard Mendy soon, but Kepa seems to be the guy that, you know, a lot of fans, I think you tweeted this, a lot of fans, maybe myself at some point, you know, was a bit reserved to have him at the club while Mendy goes, but he hasn't put a foot wrong since Tuchel's come in.
Yeah.
And I know I've definitely echoed that a few times. You know, he's come in, he's got his head down, he was taken out the limelight, you know, all the stuff with Sarri, then obviously Lampard and sort of bringing in Mendy. He hasn't really complained, he's just got on with his stuff. Obviously, training seems to be going really well. It'd be a shame to lose him, but I feel like he's too good to be, you know, second choice to Mendy.
100%. Too good to be second choice now. He's good enough to be our first choice, if anything. Mendy is probably just that slightly better, you know, better than him when it comes to maybe presence in goal and making himself look big. But Kepa's just full of confidence at the moment. I think before that one season, that first season, the Lampard, when you see him between the sticks, you're a bit, as a fan, you want that confident. But now you know, it's there. That confidence is there, and you see him. He's a lot more commanding. Penalties, he loves a penalty. We were saying before the Egypt Senegal shootout yesterday, you know, I'm sure hopefully Mendy's been watching Kepa in training, and fortunately he saved one. But no, he's a fantastic keeper. We're honestly blessed to have two fantastic keepers at the club. But big with the World Cup in Qatar approaching, I'm sure Kepa wants to be on that plane to Qatar as the first choice keeper, if anything. And, you know, De Gea's had a fantastic season as well. But you look at that other guy who played at the Euros last summer, Unai Simon. Haven't really heard much of him since the Euros. And I do think Kepa's much better than him. So for his kind of career, he wants to be the Spanish number one goalie. And that means probably playing more regularly as well. So come after the summer, I think the club's got to make a big decision. He's got to make a big decision, probably his agents as well. I don't know if it's an influence, but I saw that he's got a new girlfriend now, which I'm really pleased. She was at the game as well. Because I've said this before, but you know, you don't really realize what's happening behind the scenes with all these players.
Yeah, but then this is the same thing with Lukaku as well, because I think he's split with his girlfriend, or he's not with her anymore.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So I think that could be a massive thing, but still, as much as I want to give that part of the reasons as to why someone might be doing better or might be, you know, having a dip in form, you're being paid a lot of money to do a job. And if I'm in a job and I'm not getting paid as much as they are, but if I'm in a job and I'm going through some stuff, I've still got to get up and perform.
It's true.
So,
it's true.
You know, but I do agree with you. I think Kepa, that is probably one thing. You know, he's got his lifestyle steady, and it's sort of, you know, you can complain. You can't really complain, can he? He's got the best of both at the moment.
Yeah, I think miss Spain as well, so I don't think you can complain either.
Yeah, no, it's true. Let's quickly talk about, obviously, next round in the FA Cup. We got Luton, who I think we played. We beat them 3-1. 2021.
Last season. Lampard's last game in charge.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So, and it's away. Yeah. Another away fixture. So what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, you know, I think we played them quite a few times. I'm sure going back the years, I checked yesterday, we've played them like 18 times or something like that, but a nice away fixture for us. I'm going to say should be a convincing win for us, but we should be able to get through past Luton.
No, we should, but then after looking at that Plymouth game, nothing's a given now. It's a good tie for us. It's not too far from London to have to travel midweek because I think it's a Wednesday or Tuesday fixture.
Yeah.
You'd hope we can maybe rotate a bit more, even though Tuchel doesn't seem too keen on rotating the squad as much as earlier in the season. And when you look at some of the other teams that are still in, the likes of Man City, the likes of Liverpool, even Nottingham Forest, who are flying high at the moment, Tottenham are still in there, which we would have probably loved, probably play better against Tottenham than we will against a Luton. But no, it's a good tie and a draw for us. We can't complain. And if we, like I said about not beating Plymouth, not beating Chesterfield, if we can't beat Luton, it's embarrassing. We don't deserve to be in the cup.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, it's strange that it's a midweek game, but I think that might work in our advantage as well. I know obviously the fans will travel down as well, so yeah, we've got to beat them. Like you said, if we can't beat them, we shouldn't even be contention for the cup. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm not sure when those ties are being played. Actually, I think it might be March.
I think it's the midweek after the League Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Week commencing on the 28th. I'm not sure. So yeah, first week of March, end of February. Yeah.
Well, hopefully by then we'll have two trophies by then. So let's talk about Club World Cup very quickly. We know now our opponents for Wednesday, 4:30 kickoff UK time. We spoke about it offline just before, and a couple of your tweets seems to be the infamous tweets that might come back to us on Thursday morning. But talk to me about Club World Cup. What's your expectations for Wednesday? Obviously, Reece James has gone out with not the intention to play, but I think to continue his rehabilitation. But just in terms of the squad that's gone over, obviously Mendy will be eventually linking up with the team as well. But surely Kepa, in a cup competition, Kepa is your goalkeeper. But tough opponents on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, squad who travelled, it's our main squad. I think every one of them, even Reece James has travelled. I think Loftus-Cheek is the only one with Chilwell who didn't travel. And like you mentioned, I think Mendy travelling means we have to send one player back home because we can only have a 23-man squad. And you'd expect it maybe to be Reece James or probably Reece James, actually, the only one I can think of. But our opponents, Al Hilal, they won 6-1. Some players that the viewers or the listeners might know, Odion Igalo, previously of Watford, Man United. I think Marega, a winger or striker who used to play at Porto. And also Matheus Pereira he was at West Brom last season. I think he scored 1 or 2 against us at the Bridge in that.
1 or 2. I think he scored a few more.
I think it was Callum Robinson who scored 5 goals last season and all against us. Yeah. But Pereira he's a good player, actually, a very good player. Too good.
It's surprising that they're there. Sorry to
it's
surprising.
No, you're right.
I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember Igalo going there, for instance, and you had that whole thing of him going to because I think he wanted to stay at United, and then he went. I can't remember where he went there after there. He went somewhere else.
He might have gone back to China or somewhere else in the Middle East. But no, they've got some experienced players with a bit of quality, players who can score goals as well. And I put a couple of tweets up yesterday, and I seem to have triggered half their fan base. So I had about 10,000 notifications, all in Arabic, from Al Hilal fans. I don't know what that was about, but they're confident. They're very confident. But we just need to wake up a bit, be a bit more clinical. I'd rotate the squad a bit. I'd play a Sam Aguirre, I'd play a Havertz as a number 9. I'd maybe bring Pulisic in if he's fresh. Hopefully Silva in defence will stabilise things a bit, because Christensen in that first half, I'm not sure if he came off because of, it was tactical, if it was an injury. But maybe go back to a back 3 as well. Have Kennedy come in. That's another possibility. A player that wants to prove himself, earn his position in the starting 11. But no, it's a game, again, that's going to be tricky. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are expecting us to win the Club World Cup in the snap of their fingers, but it's not going to be that easy. If we can't get past Al Hilal, I think Palmeiras in the final, which is likely to be, it's going to be even trickier. So it'll be a good test for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think the rotation's got to be key. I think we've got to still remember after Sunday's final, if we get there, we've still got some important fixtures coming up after that as well. And obviously at the end of the month, we've got the League Cup, so we don't really want to risk injuries, massive injuries. I think Mason Mount, Aspilicueta, and potentially I think Christensen were the three that came off with knocks against Plymouth. I think they're all okay, obviously in terms of playing on Wednesday, but I think it was Aspilicueta. I'm sure his was a hamstring injury, but not thought to be anything serious. So yeah, we've got to rotate the squad. If we do get to the final, you know, I know it's 4 or 5 days away from Wednesday's game, but there's still a lot of wrapping people in cotton wool, keeping them fresh as well. The heat, the climate, the changes of the weather conditions over there is going to be a massive factor, I think, for some of the players. But yeah, I agree. I think Kennedy would be a good option. I think, you know, he's been recalled, but he's yet to play, I think, in this season. So I think this would be a good game for Tuchel. Eventually, when he does get to link up with the teams, I think he's still isolating at the moment. But when he does get to go over there, you know, it's going to be good to hopefully see Kennedy. I think Sal Niguez would be a good player to bring in, because even though he's not featured much in the Premier League, when it's come to, you know, League Cup or you know, all the other sort of cup competitions that he's played in, he's actually played relatively well, and he seemed to be getting a little bit of momentum, you know, a bit of form. It'd be a shame to sort of leave him out a couple of games, because I don't think he started the last maybe 2 games or featured in the last 2 games. So it'd be a shame to get that momentum, get that form, and then to suddenly lose it. And then, you know, we want to see the best out of him. And then I think you said it a few weeks ago, but if he stays at the club, we need to see the best out of him from now until the end of the summer and end of the season to make a decision whether we want to keep him. And I think, you know, if we want to do that, we've got to play him. So one person who has got to be dropped is Lukaku. I think Havertz or Timo has got to play that role. They played it well last season. It didn't, you know, we were screaming out for goals last season. We wanted a number 9. We haven't got a number 9 still. Let's face it. Who can score goals? Play Havertz. Put him in that position. If it's not working, maybe bring Lukaku off the bench. But starting him, I think it's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. But then again, knowing Tuchel, it'll be a front three of Hudson-Odoi, Ziyech, and Lukaku again. I would not be surprised if I see those 3 players on the team sheet on Wednesday at 3:30. But no, I'd like to see a bit of rotation. All the players you mentioned, Kennedy, Sarniguez, like I said, they should be starting these type of games. And if Aspi, Mount, Christensen have picked up knocks, rest them this week, and hopefully they're fit enough for the final if we get there at the weekend.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the elusive trophy. We said it on the last episode. It's the elusive trophy. We want it. We've got to talk about Mendy before we wrap up, who seems to be cleaning up every final he can, every final possible, to add to his accolades, his honours. He was crowned part of the African Cup of Nations last night, Senegal. Brilliant game. I think you watched it as well.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, for what the competition has been, and I've watched quite a lot of the games, it has been a bit of a mixed bag of things. You know, you've had some really good games, you've had some where it's just been poor, but that happens in all tournaments, you know, Euros, World Cup, Premier League, whatever. But that final was actually, for me, it was relatively decent, because it felt like Egypt was sitting back waiting for the draw. They were waiting for extra time, they were waiting for maybe penalties. Didn't understand the Salah thing, not taking a penalty, maybe second or third. I think he wanted to be
the 5th penalty taker, I think.
Pages. Yeah, he wanted all the back pages and the headlines. But what was your thoughts on the game and maybe the tournament from sort of, you know, Senegal's point of view, but the tournament overall as well?
I didn't watch, I think, as many games as you. A lot of the games I watched ended up being draws and then gone to penalties, where, you know, this Egyptian goalkeeper has been the hero of many of those shootouts. But you know, going back to Klopp's comments of it being a little tournament, I couldn't agree less with him. You know, it's the equivalent of the Euros, but in Africa. And, you know, you look at the quality of players that Africa produced across the years, it's brilliant. You know, and Senegal, you know, you look at that starting 11, the likes of Koulibaly, Mane, Idrissa Gueye, Edouard Mendy. It's a good 11, you know, and I'm pleased for them. I wanted them to win, not just for Mendy, but, you know, for their, you know, their fans and, you know, the actual history of the country in a tournament as well. And also, I mean, Salah's a good player, but you just know that probably Liverpool fans favoured Egypt over Senegal. But no, going back to Mendy as well, his last 12 months or 10 months, you know, he's picked up a trophy, every single trophy possible along the way almost. Champions League, Super Cup, UEFA Goalkeeper of the Year, AFCON now, and hopefully the Club World Cup by the end of this month. So, he's fantastic, and to see him actually save a penalty as well, which he hasn't done much of during his time at Chelsea. I'm really pleased.
It's strange because I think during the penalty shootout, I said to one of my mates, I said I should have bet on Egypt to win this because it's Mendy in goal, and he done well because I think he was doing, sort of making himself large, moving on the line, trying to do what he could. But yeah, I agree with you. It was such a joy to see him. At the end of the tournament, the relief in his face, the joy, the happiness as well. Obviously a lot of people talk about his story, how he sort of was ready to quit football.
Job centre in 2016, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you look at that story, look at where he is now. He's probably arguably the best goalkeeper in the world. And I think we've both said that, he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And just looking at this here now, in terms of, I think he's the first goalkeeper to keep
clean sheets.
Yeah, so...
Clean sheets in the Champions League final and AFCON final.
Yeah,
I think it was,
so
yeah.
You just look at that and you just think, is he the best in the world? Is he the one that we need to now think about when big clubs are going to start looking for goalkeepers soon? Is he the one that everyone's going to be looking to try and take off our hands?
I don't know. I feel like we showed him a certain level of trust, last summer to make him our number one and bring him in. He was relatively unknown back at Rennes. I think it was Petr Cech's choice.
Yeah.
I think hopefully he sticks with us. He's 30, I think 31 maybe, who just turned 30.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got a good 5-6 years still in him. Goalkeepers can play until they're in their late 30s. I've got no reason why he should leave anytime soon. But like I said again, this summer we've got a big decision to make with Kepa and Mendy, and it's likely to be Kepa the one who suffers from it. I think whether it's a loan, whether it's a permanent move, whether it's still him next season playing the cup competitions. But no, we're blessed to have two fantastic keepers for sure.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting, obviously, as I just mentioned, who starts in the Club World Cup. For me personally, I'd keep Kepa. I think Kepa's, you think about if it does go into penalties or, you need to, well, we saw against Plymouth, if you need that sort of last minute penalty save, your money's on Kepa out of the two. So I think Kepa, Mendy, of course, will link up with the team. He'll join up with the team. But I think if Tuchel's got any sense, he'll keep Kepa, knowing what cup competitions are all about. He knows that the two goalkeepers, which one's probably better to save penalties if it comes down to that. So it should be Kepa. But I agree, I think he's definitely earned himself the right to get a big move. And when I say a big move, I mean a big move away from Chelsea. This is Kepa I'm talking about. He's got to move. He's too good to be understudy to Mendy. He's had his doubters and doubts. I'm sure himself, but he's definitely earning the money that we paid for him. And a loan would be lovely because I think at least we can get him back at the end of the season. But I just think there's going to be so many clubs come the end of this season that are going to be looking for good goalkeepers, and there's one right there that's sitting on the bench most weekends. So
then the other side of the story is maybe because they're both two fantastic keepers, they're bringing the best out of each other. You could maybe think so. If you take one out of the equation, maybe the other one just drops his levels of performance. So that's something else to consider. Because they're training together. They're fighting for that first spot against each other. And you'd think if one of them does a series of mistakes in a couple games, you have one on the bench who's ready to go and who's proven. So that's something else to consider.
That's a good point.
Question for you: why was he wearing the white kit on Saturday?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I had the sun in my eyes, and I was looking across Stamford Bridge trying to work out, is that Plymouth keeper, is that Plymouth player or Kepa? Like, we've got that orange kit that we can wear, It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense.
A lot of things didn't make sense on Saturday, to be honest. It was such a bizarre game. Really bizarre game. To be honest, before we wrap up, Hakim Ziyech, I was impressed with.
Yeah, we didn't mention him, but he's really stepped up recently. I think playing with a back four really suits him. Gives him more freedom, not to track back as much, but also to play the ball on his left foot, which he's so good at. And that's kind of like he's probably been robbed of so many assists with Lukaku not being in the right place. And he's bringing these beautiful balls into the box that just float in. You'd expect someone like Lukaku to leap up like a salmon and put it in the back of the net, but he's not there. Like a whale.
He's not even. But I think there was one moment where I think it was almost Gascoigne-esque, and I can't remember if it was Hudson-Odoi or Ziyech or I can't remember who whips the ball in very low, right across the goal, and Lukaku, bearing in mind he's probably 6 foot something at least, doesn't really stretch, half stretches his leg
just ends up rolling over and not
Yeah,
really.
it's just,
Yeah,
I'm not going to talk about him again because it really frustrates me. But yeah, we've got to start thinking about alternative options. I think number 9, false 9, whatever you want to call it, we've got to bring someone else in, whether it's Havertz or Werner, whoever plays there will do a better job than Lukaku at the moment. And whether that's form, mental state, I don't know, but something isn't working with Lukaku, and it's got to change. There's no point having him in because it's like playing with 10 players.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
No, there's games 7-0 against Norwich, 4-0 against Juventus, 3-0 against Leicester. All of those were out without Lukaku. Yeah. So we can find goals without him, and we seem almost a bit more fluid, without him. Whether it's Werner, Havertz, Pulisic, those type of players. I mean, I'm not saying I want to see Pulisic as a false 9, but maybe
to be fair, is it going to be any worse than what we've seen with Lukaku? Probably not.
Probably not.
He goes to America and he scores goals. So yeah, I'm sick of it now. I didn't want to be like this with Lukaku because I like to defend any Chelsea player to the very end. And even the fans, I feel like even if he was to score 20 odd goals, I do think the fans will never forget that interview. And I think that is the worst thing. Whether he'd have to go on and single-handedly win the Premier League next season.
Yeah,
and for fans to seriously, because when I was sat there, I just thought, these fans are done. They don't want anything to do with him because he doesn't even have to touch the ball. And people say, "Run, Lukaku, get in the box, Lukaku, shoot, Lukaku," and it's all Lukaku. He hasn't even got the ball, and so he's got a long way to go if he wants to win Chelsea fans back over.
Yeah, we've fallen down the Lukaku rabbit hole again, haven't we?
Yeah, it's going to be, we need to change the name of the podcast to something to do with Lukaku. But yeah, we'll
have a separate midweek episode just for Lukaku every
therapy.
time.
Somehow, I'm not sure. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be, obviously we've got a busy couple of weeks now. We've got Club World Cup. Hopefully, next couple of days we crown champions, maybe, who knows. Big one for me, I'm still at the back of my mind that as much as I want the Club World Cup, I'm still thinking about the 27th of February, Liverpool. To me, that is bragging rights up here, up north. It's something that I won't live that day down if we don't beat them. So, yeah, that's a big one for me. But, yeah, give me your predictions quickly before we go Wednesday. I feel like we should stop doing predictions.
No, we haven't been great at this, have we?
Let's just let's have them anyway. Let's go.
We're on a podcast. We've got to stay optimistic, so we'll go for a Chelsea victory. But I think it'll be quite a messy one. So I'm going to go 3-2 Chelsea.
Yeah, do you know I'm going to go very sort of low end, and I'm going to say 1-0 to Chelsea. I think it'd be a very tough game, cagey. I don't think there's going to be many opportunities for goals, if I'm honest, especially from Chelsea's perspective. If we play Lukaku, we may not even win the game. But I'm going to go 1-0. I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, it's got an own goal somewhere in there as well, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. But as always, Theo, thank you for joining me. And yeah, this has been, I was trying to think what episode we're on. Episode 52. Get back into the zone. Yeah, episode 52. Theo, thanks for joining me. For those listening, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We need some more subscribers. I can see it slowly creeping up. The views are slowly creeping up on YouTube as well. But if you've not done so already, make sure you are subscribed. And also let us know your thoughts in the comments as well about what we've discussed on the episode. If you agree or you disagree, just let us know your thoughts. Like as well. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, make sure you check out the YouTube channel, but also follow on Spotify as well to let you know when there's new episodes out. You'll get the little notification when we drop an episode. But this has been episode 52 from the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot and Theo. As always, thanks for joining me, and thanks for listening or watching, whichever one you chose to do. Until next time, stay safe, and we will be back next week.